Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is for all of my trans men and trans masculine and non-binary folks thinking about top surgery, and specifically top surgery with nipple grafts. Now, I have a whole video here on my channel already about all of my tips and tricks for getting nipple piercings with nipple grafts and after top surgery. I will link that here. But what I want to talk about is a recent phenomenon I keep noticing in every area I exist on, online and in person. And that is some really unhealthy, really unrealistic expectations when it comes to nipple grafts and people's results post-top surgery. And I'm going to preface this by saying I totally understand that everyone's top surgery journey is a personal, intimate journey that is unique to them. And I believe that everyone deserves feeling safe and comfortable and confident in their own body. But I also think we need to start having some really frank and really honest conversations about what our expectations look like for top surgery and what is physically possible for our bodies. So I feel so honored and so lucky to be trusted to do so many piercings for folks after surgery. And I've recently been doing a ton of nipple piercings for folks who've had top surgery, especially with grafts. And I think that's awesome. I think that's so exciting, and I love doing the work. And when I do them, I usually try whenever possible to get good photos to share online so that people can see that this is an option, that it's possible, they can see what it looks like. And without fail, every single time, no matter what platform I post a post-op nipple piercing, I get at least a handful of comments going, "Oh my God, yes, this is my goal. I'm so jealous. I'm gonna kill myself if I can't get my nipples pierced after top surgery. Oh my God, I'm gonna die if I can't get my nipples pierced after top surgery. If I can't do this, that's my 13th reason." And people leaving just the most extreme dramatic comments on my images saying that if their anatomy doesn't turn out like this, they don't want to be here, or what's the point of getting top surgery, or even worse statements. And I see very similar sentiments in the top surgery groups. I'm in a ton of groups on Facebook and on Reddit for folks, and I see people posting their results and information about their journey all the time. And I see one of two things. One, folks posting results that they're very happy with, and people in the comments making all sorts of similar comments about how if their top surgery doesn't turn out this way, they're going to be super upset or super miserable. But I also see people posting pictures of, by and large, very well done top surgery with very clean incisions, very good scarring, and all things considered quite symmetrical nipples, who post things like, "I'm so devastated with my results. This nipple is like a millimeter higher than this nipple, and I'm just so upset." Or, "One of my nipples is totally flat, and I'm just like so upset and so angry that this is my result." And it really like baffles me to see a lot of these posts and a lot of these comments, and it really makes me question how much understanding some people have of what's going on when it comes to getting nipple grafts with top surgery, and kind of like what their expectations are. So from my perspective as a body piercer, top surgery is one of the most difficult surgical procedures for us to work with afterwards. And this is because when they are doing top surgery, specifically with nipple grafts, I should add, to clarify, it's with nipple grafts, they're removing the entire nipple, and they're not just removing it, they disconnect it from the primary blood flow and primary nerve endings it was previously connected to. So there's a little stalk inside of the breast that runs to the nipple that has all of our milk ducts, all of the lymphatic glands, all of these nerve endings, all of this primary blood supply, and all of that gets removed. and the nipple gets reattached in what amounts to kind of like a random place on your new chest, and the body regrows small capillaries to supply blood to this graft, and then scar tissue heals this graft in place. So the nipple now has no primary blood flow the way it used to. The nipple stalk is gone, so it's just being kept alive by very small capillaries, and in comparison to previously, very minimal blood flow. It's basically all scar tissue at this point from being removed and grafted back on and healing. Reacts completely different than non-surgically altered nipples would. And then there's all of the trauma and the different experiences with healing and small things like laying on it the wrong way, or not changing a bandage soon enough, or not using the right ointment, or just how your skin reacts to healing that affects how these heal and these graft. This is an incredibly arduous process for your body to try and heal from or recover from. And I feel like it makes sense that there's going to be a lot of variation in how people heal. And I've always stated about 50% of grafts that I see post-op are just not viable to be pierced. They typically don't have enough protrusion. If things are completely perfectly flat, there's just nothing for me to pierce. There's too much scar tissue. Some folks develop very dense, very rubbery, very hard scar tissue that doesn't have a lot of blood flow. And blood flow is necessary for healing a body piercing. That's how your body is going to send white blood cells and nutrients to the area necessary for building new skin and healing a piercing. And if your nipple graft has minimal or not great blood flow, or there's a ton of scar tissue with poor blood flow around the nipple, it's just not safe for us to do that piercing. And I feel like that is just like kind of the risk of getting grafts, you know? That is a very, very difficult thing that we are asking our body to do and asking our body to heal. And it makes sense that they're not all going to heal like perfect, unaltered nipples. When I think of nipple grafts, I think of some of the really difficult piercings that we as piercers do. Things like cheek piercings and high nostrils and complex industrials, where clients go into these piercings expecting to have a long healing process, expecting to potentially deal with bumps and irritations and drainage issues, and potentially deal with scar tissue and things like that. And when we're deciding to get nipple grafts, when we're consenting to getting nipple grafts, I feel like we gotta understand that the results are variable. And now, that's not to say that I don't see folks post who just have, unfortunately, very poorly done nipple grafts. That is still a thing that exists, and my heart goes out to those folks. I do see people where things were not grafted on well, or doctors didn't resize the nipple properly, or really made like no attempt at trying to make things even and symmetrical. And my heart goes out to everyone with that experience. But that's not the experience I'm talking about today. I'm talking about folks who really have what I would consider very well done and very symmetrical grafts, who are expecting just very unrealistic expectations. And as someone who looks at people's chests all day, every day, I have yet to see a cisgender man with perfectly symmetrical nipples. I've been doing it for 13 years. I have not seen it. People come in with fairly symmetrical nipples where they're roughly the same size and shape and they're about the same placement, but even still, they're usually like, I can usually tell one's a little bit higher, one's a little bit lower, one nipple is a little bit wider, one nipple is a little bit smaller. And from there, it just gets more variant. I have clients who come in where one nipple is a full inch higher than the other. I have clients who come in where one areola is round and the other is completely ovular. I have clients who sometimes have one nipple that is literally a half of an inch larger than the other nipple. And these are cisgendered clients. This is natural anatomy. And it's normal. The human body is not perfectly symmetrical. People are not born with perfectly symmetrical, perfectly round, perfectly even nipples. And it is heartbreaking to me to see the stress that trans folks go through and put on themselves to have these like perfect and ideal nipples, and to see people coming into my studio all of the time who are devastated with what to me looks like perfectly passable cisgender nipples, looks more symmetrical and more even than a lot of the cisgender nipples I work with. And of course, the pressure they put on themselves to be able to get pierced after top surgery. And it is like nothing short of heartbreaking for me as a piercer to have to tell anyone that they don't have the anatomy for a certain piercing. But when I have these conversations with a lot of trans folks after top surgery, it is increasingly becoming one of the most difficult conversations that I have. And I don't want to make this video and minimize anyone's emotions or their feelings in their body. And I understand more than most how hard it can be to be going through this journey with your body and wanting certain things and not being able to get that. So I know that sometimes breaking this news is very difficult. But the level of people I am interacting with who are basically putting all of their mental health and emotional well-being in the basket of, I'm going to get top surgery and have these specific results and then get piercings afterwards. And when I try and have honest discussions about why it's not safe to pierce them afterwards, I'm hearing things like, well, there was no point in me getting top surgery then, or why did I even do this? And it sucks as a piercer, but also as a fellow trans person to have to break this news to people and to feel awful and like a monster for having to be honest with folks about this. But it also really makes me wonder how people are considering this, because I've spoken now to a number of trans men who told me they didn't even know it was a possibility to not be able to get piercings after top surgery, who said they didn't even know it was a possibility to end up with flat nipples after top surgery. And I'm like, how did you not know that that wasn't a possibility? Every surgeon I consulted with and asked about nipple grafts warned me about how inconsistent the results could be and how variable it would be. And in every forum and every group that I'm in, I see people talking about their inconsistencies with this result. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't push for better procedures and better outcomes, but I am saying we have to be realistic about what our bodies are capable of doing and capable of healing. And it is nothing short of a miracle that we're even able to remove the nipple in this way and graft it back on. And we are out here lamenting the fact that this amazing act of removing a part of our body, completely reshaping it and stitching it back in a different place with none of its primary blood flow, and our body still healing and reattaching a whole body part, didn't turn out the exact color we wanted it to, or the exact shape or size that we wanted it to. And I just think we need to start having more honest conversations about how nipple grafts heal, what the outcomes are going to be, and what is possible to be done with them healed. So if you're planning on getting nipple grafts with top surgery, and the only reason or the primary reason you're doing that is so that you can get them pierced afterwards, I really need you to do some research and do some reading and have some realistic expectations and understand that there is about a 50% chance that it is not going to be anatomically possible. And if we just try and pierce on unviable grafts anyway, at the best, maybe we get lucky and things heal. Most of the time they end up failing. They either just don't heal or they migrate and reject, and then people are left with pretty severe scarring on their grafts. And the amount of folks I've seen come in who were like, yeah, you told me I shouldn't do it, and another piercer told me I shouldn't do it, and I went somewhere who would do it anyway, and it rejected, and now I have these scars and my grafts look worse, and I wish I had listened, and now I don't know what to do, is not just 2 or 3 people who I've had that happen to. And the true worst case scenario is losing the whole graft. And that has happened. I have seen people whose graft has rejected and failed over an improperly done piercing. So we don't tell you no to be mean or to be cruel or to be unkind. It is our job as piercers to say no if someone doesn't have the anatomy for something. And when we're dealing with grafts, we are dealing with what is nothing short than a medical miracle and a testament to the incredible healing powers of the human body. And that is going to come with variations and imperfections, and not everyone is going to have anatomy like that. And I also encourage us to be mindful about the language that we use when we talk about this stuff. My heart hurts to think about what someone reading my comment section who doesn't have the anatomy for these might feel with the amount of extreme comments people make. And my heart goes out to the people who feel comfortable saying these things. It is not healthy to say that you would rather die than not be able to get a body piercing after surgery. And I've gotten that comment over a dozen times in just the last month or two when I've posted these piercings. And I also don't think people understand like what a mental health toll that takes on me as well as a trans person who's planning on top surgery who gets these comments. Like, damn, I'm not going to keep my nipples after top surgery because I know that they wouldn't heal and be viable for piercing. Like, I already know that with my anatomy. I have a whole video about that I'll link here. But people are basically saying that they'd rather die than have the body that I would have if I kept my nipples after top surgery. And that's just unbelievable for me to hear people say so casually. So my hope is that making this video can start these conversations and start folks discussing realistic expectations and really thinking about medically and scientifically what's happening when we're getting nipple grafts and why this is so impressive, but also why there's going to be so much variance, and help folks set themselves up for realistic expectations. Because not even cisgender folks have perfectly symmetrical, perfectly even, perfectly protrusive nipples. They just don't. So don't hold yourself or your body to those expectations either. And if you are struggling with dealing with those expectations and dealing with dysphoria after top surgery, there are a lot of resources out there for folks, but taking it out on your piercers and your tattoo artists who are just being honest with you about what is or isn't safe or viable is not healthy and not right. And neither is projecting those feelings onto other trans people's bodies. So please be mindful about the things that you say and the way you talk to other folks. For me, I know that my grafts would not heal the way I want them to. So I'm not even gonna get them at all. And I'm comfortable with that fact because I know that there is an inherent risk in all of these procedures that we're doing. And I want to be realistic with what my body is going to be capable of healing and having. And sure, there's a part of me that's bummed that I'll never have the nipple piercings that I dreamed of. But if we're being honest, I was never gonna have them even before top surgery. I just don't have the anatomy for them. And that is okay. It is okay to not have the anatomy for some piercings or some body modifications that you want. It's a bummer, sure, and it sucks, but it's also not the end of the world. Because while I don't have the anatomy for these piercings, I have the anatomy for a bunch of other piercings that I do have that I think are cool and wonderful and very gender affirming and very empowering. And so rather than focus on what I can't have, I try and just be grateful for all of the stuff that I can. This is a bit of a difficult subject, so I'm interested to hear other folks' take in the comments, especially other trans folks, if you've seen similar things and similar interactions like this online, or if you disagree with me here. I am interested to find out. Thanks for hanging out and letting me chat about what is a bit of a difficult subject, and I can't wait to sit down and talk more soon. Bye.